What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the news affecting the markets. Some very, very big stuff coming out for tomorrow that's going to cause a big move, which could affect NIO, and also what the news is saying about NIO. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I talk about what the technicals are suggesting, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 15 free stocks. This offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's going on with NIO in the markets. NIO is down about 1.98% for the day. And overall, the stock is looking relatively weak. We have a bearish crossover on the PPO. The daily is looking very weak right now. We're going to be watching to see if this thing continues to see more downside. As NIO is looking relatively weak, we're going to be watching to see what else affects it. This is just based off technicals, however, because what else is going to affect the markets is going to be CPI. So CPI is coming out tomorrow. Whatever this ends up just giving the markets is going to cause a very, very big move. And in turn, this could actually affect NIO. There have been many CPIs that affected NIO in the past. So we're going to be watching this very, very carefully. So when is CPI coming out? As a reminder, it's coming out an hour before the market opens tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're expecting core CPI to be showing signs of a slight decrease between 3.8 and 3.9%. And for CPI for all items, we're expecting 3.1 to 3.2% for a slight increase or something very close to the previous report. Now, based off the data I have, I just want to mention that CPI has been on a downtrend for the last couple of months, and core CPI has been very flat. It's more sticky, if anything. So we're expecting core, which is this purple line right here, you guys can see it. We're expecting this to drop just a little bit, slightly. That's what the expectation is. And for all items CPI, this dark blue line right here, we're expecting a little bounce right here, a little bounce. So we'll watch and see if that ends up being the case. But for now, we're not really too worried about that. We'll just have to see how it ends up looking. I'm not going to try to predict this with high accuracy or anything like that. There is one thing that's a little positive, and that's the fact that gas prices dropped a little bit more. And generally, when gas prices drop, this tends to actually improve the outcome for the markets. So gas prices dropped to $3, $3.25 per gallon in average in the US in December. That used to be $3.44 for November. So there's a slight decrease in gas prices. This could be very positive for CPI, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, with that being said, guys, that's pretty much it for the news. Now we just want to break this down right over here. On this power journey from NIO in Europe, they've ridden about 1,323 kilometers from different parts. And this is actually very, very cool just to show you how you can actually travel across certain European countries using NIO and other things like that. So this is actually a nice journey from Europe that we have right over here. And we'll see how things go on in Germany. This was some good news for NIO, and that's pretty much it for the news. I'm not really saying anything else too crazy on NIO's Twitter page. This news also came out that Bank of America downgraded NIO to a neutral rating. They used to be saying buy NIO, now they're saying that they're neutral on it. They're saying that the sales growth is likely going to be low. They're saying that they may have to offer more price discounts amidst the very, very stiff competition in China, since it's very competitive there. And they're very concerned about NIO's performance for 2024. They used to say that it would go up to $18. I should say it's somewhere down here. Now they're saying it's going to go down to up to $13. So they're still saying they're bullish in a way, but they're saying they're not as bullish as before. And this was actually some quite negative news, especially because NIO has been underperforming for quite a bit. They also lowered their rating for Xbox. That's some negative news as well. They also gave some warnings about how with the Battlefield that's coming out, it's going to be more difficult for NIO with their tight margins, and more price cuts could be coming for them to maintain demand. So that's what Bank of America is saying, and that's what led to NIO selling off. So the sell-off is still continuing today. This is what came out yesterday. And with all that negative news, it's just nothing that anyone wants to hear. NIO has been getting about 54 million in volume, so the volume is slowing down. It's not selling off as aggressively, but the sell-off still continues overall, and we'll see what this ends up entailing. I also want to note that we have a 50% price versus short volume right now. This basically tells us that the overall volatility is a little neutral, but if it starts going up, we can see more sellers. Bank of America Securities went from saying you should be buying NIO to now they're neutral on it in the middle. Price-price ratio is dropping right here. NIO is losing strength. Historically, Thursdays tend to be green about 50% of the time. And that's pretty much it for data. There's nothing else that's too crazy that's coming out. So what do I see for NIO? From a technical standpoint, NIO looks bearish. It looks like it's going to be coming down to 7.2 or so, like right here. If that fails us, 7.05 is next. But if we're bullish, you want to see this thing bounce very, very nicely. It all depends on CPI. I think that's going to have a big effect on NIO and the whole markets. If CPI is decent, if the numbers get us like some kind of bullish move, we're going to be looking to see if NIO could break above 7.8 plus. If it gets back above that, $8 is coming. If it fails to break above that and we turn bearish, we're going to get very close to $7, unfortunately. Technicals look bearish, so the odds favored coming down to 7.25. But just to be safe, it all depends on CPI. For SPY, if we're bullish, we're going to be basically, in my opinion, approaching uh, at least 479 or so a share, basically getting very close to all-time highs at 480. We could be getting very close to 480 if we end up breaking out, if we break above this high and we get a bullish move from CPI. If we're bearish after CPI, we're going to be retracing back down towards 474, if not 470. So it all depends on CPI. This is going to be very important. I also want to note that on the daily time frame, SPY looks bullish. We've been pumping going into CPI, and we'll be watching to see. Even though it does look bullish based off technicals, CPI is going to determine which way we go. So wait and see. Do we approach 480? Do we get a rejection, come down to 474, then 470? That's going to depend on CPI. For Aapl, if we're bullish, we're going to be hitting 188 plus. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure, a cup and handle that's developing on the smaller time frames. If we're bearish, it's going to come back down towards 180. It all depends on CPI. We have a big test coming at the 1 hour 200 EMA, but this is forming kind of like a cup and handle, right? Like this. You guys can see this. So we'll see if this ends up playing out or not. Besides that, we also have the QQQ. If we're bullish, we're going to be approaching the all-time high at 412. If we're bearish, that's actually 412 to 413. If we're bearish, you want to see it basically lose 406 and start sinking back down towards 402. Watch that very carefully. On Nvda, if we're bullish, 550 plus is coming. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose basically 540, then eventually come down to 530. If we lose that, we're going to turn bearish. So we'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. As of right now, we're kind of in the middle, so it all depends on CPI. That's it for Nvidia and all the others. The last but not least, I'm just going to talk about Tesla before I close the video with NIO. Tesla's looking relatively weak. It's below our daily 200 EMA. So it's looking kind of weak from a technical standpoint. I want to note that looking kind of weak on Tesla from a technical standpoint. We're below our 200 EMA. If CPI causes a bounce, Tesla could try to get back to 238. I want to see it break above 240 to turn really bullish. So watch for a push to 238 if we're bullish. If we're bearish, you want to see it just continue to maintain its level below the 200 EMA. And if that fails us, Tesla's going to be on its way down towards 228, in my opinion, or even below that. So we'll be watching this very carefully. Do what you have to do, guys. I thank every one of you so much for listening. And finally, for NIO, we'll watch and see if NIO gets a bounce up to 7.8, or if we reject and come down closer to 7.2, then 7.05. This is going to depend on CPI, so I can't really predict this. But from a technical standpoint, I do want to note that NIO looks a bit bearish, so it does favor the bears a bit more. But just to be safe, we'll wait and see. Anyways, that's it for this one. So have a great day, guys, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow. We'll see what CPI looks like. Get ready for the market open tomorrow. It's going to come right before market open, so please be prepared and do what you have to do. Thank you, and peace out.